So, I've been in the audiophile hobby for quite a number of years now, but in IEMs, not so long. Actually, only been 2 years, maybe 2.5 years at most. And today, I feel like doing a video just recapping all of my favorite daily driver IEMs. IEMs that I keep going back to or have used consecutively for a number of weeks or months. So yes, today we're taking a look into my own personal IEM journey. And before we even start the video, share yours down below. What are some of the daily drivers that you started with and where are you now? What are some of them that you found in between? I would love to know. Share that in the comment section below. And without further ado, let's jump into my first ever daily drivers. Hey friends, Tim here, welcome back to another video on Thieaudio, and today I decided to do a little bit more of a relaxing, sit down, talking to you guys video because in every single video I'm yelling something and my throat, you know, it gets tired sometimes. So yes, today we're taking a look at the history of my daily driver IEMs. We're gonna start with my earliest one that I can remember all the way to my current daily drivers. Yes, daily drivers with an S, because nowadays I just have so many that I really love and I kind of rotate through them. But in the beginning, it wasn't always like that. I was a normal human being once who only had one IEM at a time. Man, those were the days. So jumping into my first daily driver that I can remember was from V-Moda. This one is called the Zinc. I don't remember what it sounds like anymore, but I remember at the time I was really crazy about V-Modas. I had the M100 crossfade wireless. I had quite a few of their headphones, and naturally, being so brand loyal at the time, I looked into their IEMs and I bought the Zinc. Actually, I own 2 of the Zincs. The first one I used for quite a few months and it broke. I bought a second one. The second one also broke. But I guess you can say V-Moda was the brand that dragged me into the audiophile hobby, at least in the beginning when I really didn't know about Sci-Fi or anything. I was just reading reviews on Google or any random website that would leave reviews on IEMs, and the Zinc was rated kind of highly on a lot of sites, so I ended up buying it also because it's V-Moda, of course. Speaking of online reviews, those led me to my next set. And my next set is none other than the one more, not triple drivers, quad drivers. Yes, for me, my monkey brain at the time was like, wow, the triple driver is ranked #1 on so many websites. The quad driver must be so godly. So I bought the quad driver and I used that for quite a number of months and I loved it. I loved everything I bought initially because you're so new and you have no frame of reference. You know, you haven't compared or A/B to a lot of sets on the market. So I loved everything that I bought. Doesn't matter the sound signature really, they all sounded really good to me. So yeah, I enjoyed the quad driver for quite a number of months, even years, I think like 1 or 2 years. Now, I still have it somewhere in there and I listened to it recently. It's bad. No go nowadays, but before it was amazing. Now, after the quad drivers is the start of an era where I start to discover headphone reviews on YouTube. I was actually looking at the HD660S and the DT1990 by Beyerdynamics, and I found 3 channels: DMS, Josh Valor, and Theos. I think this was around 2019-ish, 2020, and yeah, learning about their channels led me to this IEM because they all really like this, and this is the Moondrop Starfield. Of course, one of the few IEMs that can say it transcended Sci-Fi into the mainstream market. This thing is sold so many times on the US Amazon, you would not believe. It's probably the most recognizable Sci-Fi IEM on the market today. With this one, I really like the sound, and this is where I started not to like the quad drivers so much because this just sounds so much better than the quad drivers. It was such an upgrade. It surprised me so much, and it of course threw me down the rabbit hole, the black hole of Sci-Fi IEMs. I went in and watched more videos, and one particular video, this one, led me to buy a near endgame price IEM. That is the Kinera Nanna 2. Yes, quite a pricey IEM. I did get it on sale, however, so I didn't pay full price for it, but still. After trying the Nanna and comparing it to the Starfield, I was blown away. Of course. Hours and hours and hours, days, weeks sank into the Nanna. The bass was really awesome, buttery smooth. The treble was so nice. The mid-range sound is so good. Everything was wonderful on the Nanna Mark II, and the Starfield took a complete backseat. The Nannas are still here, and how do I feel about it now? I don't really listen to it anymore because it is good. It's good, but so many sets are better than this. Now that I've experienced, all the relevant ones on the market at every price point possible, the Nanna 2 right now kind of took a way backseat as well. But yeah, back to the story. The Nanna 2 just led me down even deeper into the rabbit hole, and I start reading forums, HeadFi. I discovered stores like headphones.com, Hi-Fi Go, Linso, Chunsen. So I was being dragged into the actual Sci-Fi community itself, and from then on I discovered Crin, his ranking list, and a lot of other people's ranking lists as well. And from that point on, it was the true beginning of the Sci-Fi journey, if you will. The number of sets that I acquired from that point of discovering the community, discover all the ranking lists, was immense. I tried so many IEMs. I just dug myself deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole until finally I landed on a replacement to the Nannas, the Dunu SA6. Now this was wonderful. This has taught me that price doesn't matter in Sci-Fi. Price doesn't mean performance. Now, you might laugh at me for not knowing that right off the bat, but a lot of new people in the hobby really don't know that, and I was one of them. But yes, these sounded better than the Nanna 2. So I replaced the Nanna 2 with this, and till this day, I still rank this super highly. Around $500 to $600, this is still a really solid buy. But yes, the SA6 was my go-to at that time, and it stuck with me for a good number of weeks. And coincidentally, that was around the time I started the Giz Audio channel as well. If you see, my first ever reviews is on the Dunu EST112 and the SA6. Fast forward about 2-3 months or so, I've discovered so many IEMs at that point. I think I've tried upwards of 50 IEMs within that span. I was really digging deep into the hobby, just trying whatever I can, trying whatever has good reviews out there just to get some knowledge under my belt. And I landed on the Thieaudio Twins and also the Unique Melody Mesh Mark I. If you guys remember at the time, those three were super hyped up in the community, and of course I had to try all of them. Clairvoyance was my favorite out of the three, and I used the Clairvoyance for a little bit, not too long. I wouldn't say enough to call it a daily carry, and really it would have been as well if not for this next daily carry. That is the Thieaudio Oracle. Yes, at the time that I got into the Clairvoyance, it was near the time that the Oracle was gonna come out. I love the Clairvoyance, of course, so when the Oracle was announced and picked up by the big reviewers like HBB, Critical, and they reviewed it as a nicer tonality than the Clairvoyance, in my brain I was like, I just gotta have it. There's no way I'm not gonna have that IEM. So I got myself a set, and the Clairvoyance was never listened to again. This replaced the Clairvoyance. It sounds better. Tonality-wise, it fits me perfectly. And up until even today, I would say the Oracle's tuning, not detail, the Oracle's tuning is my top 2, top 3 favorite tuning ever. Needless to say, I used it for a long time and it's still in my rotation till today. So what could possibly come after the Oracle then, if Oracle was so perfect? Of course, the hobby never ends. Endgame is not real. Endgame is something you lie to yourself about that you're gonna do. Oh, I'm gonna stop, I'm just gonna get this, I'm gonna stop here, I'm not gonna go any further. That's all a big lie. I've never met one person who can follow up with that. And of course, I failed too. So I dug deeper into the hobby and I discovered the world of endgame IEMs, and from that point on, my wallet has never forgiven me since. The IEM that I ended up loving the most out of all the end games I tried at the time, the Anole VX. The Anole VX is the point that kind of changed my whole standard of IEMs. And till this day, detail-wise, nothing ever touches the VX. The VX still feels the most resolving of all, and I think right after I got the VX, and to an extent the Oracle, was when I started to become a lot more strict and a lot more picky with IEM choices and IEM recommendations on the channel as well, because I've now truly know how good an IEM can be. I know now how good tuning can be, and from the VX I know how good technicalities can get. A lot of IEMs that comes through my door after that point, I have the full frame of reference from the cheapest to the most expensive stuff in order to judge any new IEMs properly. So yeah, the VX, till this day, I use it. It's in my rotation. It's still my daily carry. I love this thing, and I don't think anything replaces it, at least the ones that I've personally tried. So yes, the VX is 1000% here to stay. It's been here for a long time. It's not going anywhere. And one thing I should note before we continue with the story is that around the time of the Oracle and the VX is when I started having multiple IEMs in my rotation. So from this point on, any IEMs I talk about kind of just add to the rotation or replace an IEM in the rotation. So there's no one daily carry anymore. The next IEM that really surprised me enough to be in my daily rotation, even after trying the Oracle and the VX, is the bigger brother to the Oracle. It is the Thieaudio Monarch MK2. This combines what I love about the Oracle with the actual technical performance, not to the VX level, but it has enough details to be considered end game for me, much more details than the Oracle, while still keeping, I would say, 99% of what I love about the Oracle's tuning. So this one fastly became one of my most favorite IEMs of all time, and for the longest time, I've used this instead of the Oracle, and I used this alongside the VX mostly. Nowadays, the Oracle came back into the rotation because that's just how much I love the Oracle's tuning. So yes, the Monarch MK2 and the VX were my two go-to for months and months and months and months. Doesn't matter what IEMs come into the channel, what IEM goes out, anything that I've tried, nothing was replacing the rotation or adding on to the rotation until I moved to Japan. And the next IEM that got added into the rotation is one that so beautiful, so good. In fact, I did a review of it, which I don't normally do reviews for end games because not a lot of people can purchase it, and hence I don't think you guys are that interested. But yes, this one was so good to me that I did a review of it, and of course you guys know what it is. Yes, the Elysian Diva. For the first 2-3 weeks of the Diva's existence, it completely replaced the Monarch MK2, and to an extent it still kind of does. I haven't listened to the Monarch MK2 so much nowadays. I tend to gravitate towards either the Diva or the Anole VX. Now the Diva, I'm not even gonna say too much about it. It is vocal king. If you love female vocals, this is your end game. There's no exception. If you want to hear more about my thoughts on the Diva, you guys can watch my almost 20-minute long video on it. The Diva, super beautiful, and right now, today, definitely still in the rotation. Now, before we get into the final IEM that makes it into the rotation, there's one honorable mention IEM that I need to talk about. This one is the Letshuoer S12. Now, this is not really in the immediate daily rotation, but it's something that I keep on my desk. I listen to this quite often, and I learned to really appreciate how unique it is, how well it does treble, how differently it does treble. It's so much treble, but it's not sibilancy to me. It's not too much to me. It's spicy, yes, but it's sparkly, it's energetic. It's something that I really, really love, and I wish there's an end game that can do treble exactly like this, tuned exactly like this, but maybe have more details. I am totally in love with how the S12 is tuned, so I keep it on my table. Every time I miss the S12, I just put it on and listen. But no, it's not in my immediate rotation, so I don't grab this as often as I do the other ones. But that can change in the future. I'm starting to love this more and more and more as I listen to it. And last but not least, Softears Twilight. This one is not really tuned to my preference per se. It's warm, it's meatier. I kind of like something more open, more delicate like the Diva. This one is pretty much the opposite of the Diva, but it's so well done. It's so smooth, warm, but the mid-range are correct. There's good energy in the upper mids. Vocals still shine, even though you get a lot of warmth, you get quite a bit of bass. The treble is still there. You still get some micro nuances. It's just really good. It's one of the only warm tuning IEMs that I can personally enjoy. So this one for me is one I use when I want to just lounge around, relax. Maybe I'm doing some quick errands or something. I just want to listen to something that doesn't always grab my attention. You know, like the VX is pretty intense. The Diva is pretty intense as well. This one is relaxing. So yes, when I'm in a more loungy mood, I guess I would go for the Twilight. All right, that is it for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it was coherent and wasn't too long and rambly. But yeah, share your own stories down below. Which one did you start with? Which one are you at now? What are the in-betweeners? I'd really love to know, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye.